HHW Show podcast returns January 5th with a new season, Road to the Royal Rumble. Hector, Frank, Jason, Ovi will be on the set with the latest news and takeaways. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and you can listen wherever you listen to your favorite podcast app.
What's going on? We are here. This is the Posting Up podcast on a Tuesday, wonderful Tuesday. I am here with Sean, Scanlon, and Big Jace. Isaiah will be joining us shortly. Boys, how we doing today?
Good. Hey, okay.
Great. Yeah, so like I say every beginning of the week, we had a great weekend of basketball. I mean, every weekend is a great weekend of basketball, in my opinion. Still some COVID cancellations going on. Wizards are having a bit of trouble right now, but we'll stray away from that for the moment. I wanted to first get into, kind of has to do with the COVID cancellations. I want to know what you guys' opinion on what's one team in this league you think can least afford a setback, whether it be a major injury, a player gets suspended for a long amount of time, or maybe like a serious COVID outbreak within the team where they as a whole can't play or don't have enough star players to play and they lose some games. Sean, which team do you think is less susceptible to a setback this season?
The team I picked was the Blazers out of the West, and it's actually already starting to happen to them with the CJ McCollum injury. Obviously, he broke his foot and he's going to be out for at least a month. And then obviously they lose their big man earlier last week, and Jusuf Nurkic, he broke his wrist and he's out for at least 2 months. So I just don't think Dame is good enough, to carry the pieces that he has around him to the playoffs. If they're going to have these guys out for an extended period of time. Because I think Dame is a great player, but I just don't think they have the pieces to do it. So I think that it's the McCollum and Nurkic injuries are really going to hurt this team, and I think that we're going to see that to continue to develop. I think the Blazers are going to start to lose a lot of games over the stretch here, and I'm sure Dame will be dropping 35 or even close to 40 a night without his prime playmaker and CJ McCollum, who was actually second in the league in scoring. So this will be a huge detriment to their offense, I think. But I think the Blazers are definitely going to hurt without Nurkic and McCollum.
Nurkic, this dude can't catch a break with these injuries. I swear. Jace, who do you got for this?
Right now, I think Miami is can't afford anything right now, any real slip up, because they're struggling out the gates. And if they want to get back to the top, the Eastern Conference is rough, a lot tougher now than it was in the bubble with this Brooklyn Nets team. So if they want to, because eventually when it comes down playoff time, seeding is going to matter. And these, while it's early in the season, these games are might mean something when it comes to playing a tough team in the playoffs. So right now I got Miami. They're struggling. If they end up losing someone, God forbid, just Jimmy Butler or even one of their key role players, that they're going to continue their struggles. And if they want to get back to the finals, they can't afford any setbacks right now.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. I think the Miami's a team where they kind of need everyone to be on their game to be successful. And obviously, like you said, Jay, that hasn't happened so far. So the last thing they need is a major injury. I'm going to go with a team that already has some setbacks and, really doesn't need another one. And they kind of proved this last season. So I'm going to go again. I'm going to go with the Golden State Warriors. They're a team right now who has a serious talent problem. Stephen Curry obviously is still a top player in this league, but he's playing there with guys that aren't playing that well. Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins are starting to turn things around, but they started the season very poorly. Draymond Green obviously can only do so much defensively. He's not that much of an offensive weapon. And then the rookie James Wiseman has shown potential, but also played a little bit sloppy here in the beginning. So I think if something were to happen to Steph Curry or even one of those role players, the Warriors would just end up looking worse than they do right now. And they're a team hoping to kind of make a return to the playoffs and, prove that with their setbacks currently. Welcome, Isaiah. How you doing?
It's good. My fault, y'all.
Sorry. It's all good. It's all good.
A little bit of New York traffic.
So, anyways, wrapping up that thought, I think the Warriors, if they lose a Steph Curry or even a Kelly Oubre or an Andrew Wiggins, it could be downhill fast for them. Isaiah, we're just talking about right now a team you think would be least susceptible to a setback. I said the Warriors. Jace said the Heat. Sean said, oh crap, who did Sean? Who did you say?
Oh, the Blazers.
Oh, the Trailblazers. That's right. I'm sorry. You got anyone in mind for this?
Actually, the Nets in mind. I think the Nets actually. I think when you look at the Nets, Durant has to do a lot for them to win. They don't play really good defense at all. If Durant were to go down with an injury because of that workload that he's been facing recently, that team would be in trouble. They don't play defense as it is. You can't get Kyrie back. And then you add James Harden, who, he adds offense, but he doesn't add much on the defensive side where you already lack it. I think that team, if they were to lose Kevin Durant, that would be completely devastating for them.
Yeah, and Kevin Durant's someone who I think is playing very good basketball at this point of the season, especially coming off an injury like the serious injury he faced a couple seasons ago. He missed a full season of play. Those are all good picks, guys. I think that all those teams are teams that aren't really solidified yet, and the last thing they need is a setback. So those are some good picks. We'll get into a game break shortly here, but first we're going to get you a message from Clovercrest Media.
Looking for a casual baseball podcast to listen to? Well, Baseball with the Bard, presented by Clovercrest Media, has just what you're looking for. Tyler Bard and Noah Cross cover a wide range of happenings in the MLB and then dive into a deep focus on the Red Sox and Yankees. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for your weekly dose of Baseball with the Bard.
All right, so we got some nationally televised games tomorrow. We have the Celtics versus the 76ers and the Suns versus the Rockets. I want to talk first about that Celtics-Sixers game. The Celtics are a team who have been facing severe COVID issues early on. And the 76ers obviously faced them a little earlier. They still have some players out due to contact tracing. But they've been able to keep winning. I know they lost their first few games, but they've gotten their stars back and they've been able to win some games. Celtics, surprisingly, are still at the top of the Eastern Conference. These are two teams, top three in the East. Isaiah, you looking for anything particular during this match?
I'm hoping the Celtics bounce back after that abysmal performance they put on over the weekend against the Knicks. But
wasn't that horrible? Oh my God.
For who? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every moment of it. I think those are two teams that actually need to get it going. I'm not sure if Joel Embiid is going to be healthy for this game. I believe he had some type of knee issues I saw or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they had said, I think I read somewhere they're going to try to get him for healthy for that game.
Yeah, but I think both these teams are two teams that need to get back to the winning ways, and they need to do it fast. Because other teams in this league are actually starting to, teams in the bottom are actually starting to pick it up, and they're starting to get going. So I think these two teams definitely need to get going.
Yeah. Sean, is this an important win or a win the Sixers should try to get, especially while the Celtics are kind of down and dealing with COVID issues, obviously without Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum?
I think it is. Obviously, every win against a team in your not just your conference, but your division, obviously a rival, I think those are huge wins, especially early in the season. And also, just over the past couple of seasons, the Celtics have had the Sixers number, especially in the playoffs. So I'm sure some of these Sixers players like Simmons and Embiid that have been there for a couple years now, I'm sure they're pretty pissed off and tired of losing the Celtics. So I think these games probably mean a lot to those two. So I'm sure we're going to see an exciting game tonight. I'm definitely looking forward to watching it. But it's going to be an important game for the Sixers. I think obviously if they win, they get a chance to step in the number 1 seed and then just try and keep stacking wins on top of that. But these two teams don't like each other. I know that for a fact, just watching them the past couple of years. So definitely going to be entertaining. But I think it's a huge game for both of them. Winning games in your conference is huge, especially early in the season. So a big game, and I'm definitely going to be looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, I agree. So we had Steve on Saturday in place of Isaiah, and he had mentioned Ben Simmons was the number 1 pick, but he's scoring 12.5 points a game, and that just doesn't cut it for him. And I agree, as a Sixers fan, I think Ben Simmons should be high teens, low 20s for scoring for a number 1 pick who's a playmaker and a great finisher like Ben Simmons is. Jace, is it important for Ben Simmons to kind of turn things around sooner than later for the Sixers team?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't necessarily think that sooner than later. I think they just really need a solid wing, a solid shooter. If Ben Simmons, they just need someone to complement Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid because they're just not getting it done from range. And in this league where a lot of people say how guard dominant it is, how 3-point based it is, I mean, you need a solid shooter, a solid person to rely on when you need that 3. So I don't think it's really Ben Simmons' fault. I think they're missing that one piece.
Yeah, no, I agree. You can't, they have Tobias Harris, who, don't get me wrong, is a very good basketball player, but you can't rely on him to be that third sharpshooter option because that's just not what he is. I think one of the biggest mistakes for the Sixers team was letting JJ Redick walk a few seasons ago. He was huge for them. I mean, he was just that guy. He shoots high or mid 40% from 3-point range. He's one of the most consistent shooters in the game today, still to this day for the Pelicans. I just think that was a huge loss for them, and I agree with Sean. I think the Sixers gotta take advantage of a beat down Celtics team. Thursday, we have kind of 2 interesting matchups. The first one is a matchup of championship favorites, obviously, Lakers versus the Bucks. 2 teams who are playing very good basketball right now, but the Bucks did lose last night to the Nets without Kyrie Irving, given, KD and James Harden played. That's a very good team, even without Kyrie Irving. Sean, do you think that this is an important matchup early on? I mean, is 2 championship favorites, say they were to meet in the championship, would this game have any impact on that, or is it just kind of a first look kind of thing?
I think it's obviously a first look, the first time they're playing the season, but I do think it's important for Giannis. Obviously, there's been the doubters about him just being able to finish late in games. If he has a shot, and the free throws have been a problem this season too. I know a couple of nights ago he went 1 of 10 from the free throw line. So I think Giannis, even after being back-to-back MVP, I still think he has something to prove. Obviously, not getting it done in the playoffs, not making it too far, and getting bounced early. I think that there's going to be some huge expectations on him. So he wants to go out against the 2 of the best players in the league and the reigning champions with AD and LeBron. I think he wants to go out and make a statement. Obviously, these games were fun to watch last year between the Lakers and the Bucks. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one. But I think the Bucks want to make a statement here. I think Giannis is hungry again for to make a championship run, and it starts with beating some of the better teams in the league like the Lakers. So I think it's a very important matchup for the Bucks, and we'll see how it goes on a Thursday night.
Yeah. So Isaiah, I have kind of I'm going to hit you with a hard question here. Do you think Giannis has overtaken LeBron as the face of the league?
No.
Or is that crazy talk?
That's complete crazy talk. He just won a championship. Why is that even a question? How is that even a question? That you put LeBron on any team and it's guaranteed a playoff position, guaranteed, no matter what team he's on. You can't say the same for Giannis. He still has so much of his game to develop that LeBron he's surpassed him in so many ways. It's not even funny. I can't. It's not even close. Please do not ever ask me that question.
Hey, I'm trying to get you riled up here.
Please don't ask me that question. No, LeBron is still the best player in the league.
Because a lot of people last season said that LeBron, should have been the MVP over Giannis, and I'm one of those people that thinks that. I mean, LeBron as a point forward, kind of, he plays both positions. He led the league in assists, and that's something. It's not easy to do once you're getting up towards LeBron's age, but obviously he is a different animal, and keeps very well tabs on his body and takes very, very good care of himself. Jace, do you have any thoughts on this matchup? Anything you're looking for in particular?
I mean, I expect the Lakers to do what they're doing. I mean, they're the reigning champs. To be the best, you got to beat the best. And the best right now is the Lakers. And I don't see Giannis, even though he's the reigning MVP, I don't see him stopping James and Davis at all.
So you think the Lakers are still miles ahead of where the Bucks are?
Yeah, I mean, the only team in the East that can compete with the Lakers now is the Nets. Plain and simple. I don't think.
Really? Wow.
The West is so strong. I think the Lakers have a harder time getting out of the West than they do against even like the Nets or the Bucks.
Isaiah, you made a face there. You got any thoughts on what Jace was saying?
I feel like one trade happens and we completely forget about Miami. Like they just don't exist anymore. Like they just didn't play in, the championship last year. That's still something to account for. I think they're still a pretty good team. And I think the Nets are still a work in progress. We don't know what's going to happen when Kyrie gets back on the court. We don't know how they're going to play together.
Well, that's great, Zay. I mean, if you were on time, you would have heard me talk about Miami earlier. When I was saying they're already doing really, really bad. They're not they have a little bit of a finals hangover. So, I mean, I think the Nets are the team to beat. That's a super team. And they're that there's a reason why they're competing for the top of the East right now.
How many super teams win in their first year?
That's true. I can't remember the last time. I remember Miami super team. They didn't win in their first.
But who's going to compete? Who can compete with that out in the East? Who can compete with that super team in the East? If it were in the West,
I would throw the Celtics in there. The Nets and the Celtics.
Healthy teams. I'm pretty sure that the Celtics healthy can compete.
I kind of believe in the Sixers this year too. I know Lucas likes that, but I know Ben Simmons scoring is down and stuff like that. But and I know that they should add no other shooters, but they do have some decent shooters that they added in the offseason with Danny Green and Seth Curry. And Seth Curry is really one of the best 3-point shooters in the league if you look at just pure numbers and averages. But I don't know. And Tobias Harris is playing great, so I think that the Sixers, if they keep it together, obviously they've shown that they've blown it up sometime in the playoffs. But I actually believe the Sixers more this year than I have in the past. So I think at the top of the East, there's some teams that can contend with the Lakers, but I do agree that the East as a whole isn't.
The Nets can't hang on to games. They literally almost blew it against the Knicks the other day.
Yeah, but they beat the Bucks last night. They held on to beat the Bucks last night.
Yeah, they barely holding on to games because they're terrible defensively.
A win's a win against the Bucks. That one of the best teams in the East.
Score 123 points. You're terribly defensively.
Yep. Once they get Kyrie, though, they're going to be putting up probably 135 a night.
It's going to take one bad game, and oh my God,
I agree. I think they'll definitely have nights where they give up 130 or maybe even 140 and lose the game. But I think that there's just going to be more nights where they end up scoring a lot more than their opponents, because if you have three players like Kyrie, we already saw it with Harden and KD. Their offense is dynamic already with them two. You add Kyrie to the mix, and then you have wide open shooting lanes for shooters like Joe Harris and Landry Shamet. I think this offense is going to be really good.
That's a bad situation. If you want to run for a championship, you don't want to have to try to outscore every team every game. That doesn't last forever. You're going to run eventually.
We'll see how it works out.
Your bench. You traded. Let's not forget you traded away your bench.
That's a good point. It's fair.
That's true, and that kind of, I'm glad you guys got going about the Nets there, because that kind of segues us right into our next topic here. Kyrie Irving is coming back hopefully on a Wednesday. I say hopefully, just for health wise. So Kevin Durant and James Harden, these 2 games, 2 or 3, I can't remember. It's been 2 or 3 games. They've looked terrific together. I mean, they gained their chemistry back in the snap of a finger. I mean, they've looked amazing. I mean, I know you guys say defensively they're a bad team, but on the offensive end, James Harden and Kevin Durant are clicking. Do you think? I'll start with you, Jace. Do you think Kyrie Irving coming back can kind of disrupt this kind of good chemistry the Nets have going over these first 2 games of the Harden era?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Kyrie is coming back. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Kyrie right now. I mean, James Harden has shown he wants to play. I mean, James Harden, we all joke for how much of a belly he had when he came back. But, I mean, this dude didn't have to go through conditioning to take time off. That's why Kyrie was missing the game, because he needed COVID conditioning. Where was that with James Harden? I mean, he's coming to play. Kyrie, he needs to come to play, because if he does, this team's for real. I thought James Harden was going to be the issue, but right now it's seeming like Kyrie.
I mean, yeah, it seemed like it took 1 quarter for Kevin Durant and James Harden to start clicking together. So they've looked very good. Isaiah, what have you thought of the Nets, the new look Nets so far in their 2 games?
Same story. Everything is good until you start losing. That's how it is with every team, every superstar team. Everything is good until you start losing and people start pointing the finger, and then you start wondering if the team chemistry is going to last. And that's when the issues come. So right now they look great, obviously, because, you have 2 of the best scorers in the game. You shouldn't lose games. It's going to be when Kyrie comes back, if they can share the ball properly, continue to outscore other teams, and play defense and win games. Because the minute they start losing, I'm pretty sure Kyrie's going to act out. You talk about a man who thinks the earth is flat. And, he left Cleveland to be the man. Then he went to Boston to ruin that team. So, this guy is known for, disrupting team chemistry. So to say anything other than this team is good for now while they're winning is basically crazy talk. And this team, until they lose, we won't see it. We won't really know what this team is.
I agree. Sean, my question for you is, as good as the Nets look right now, like Isaiah says, once you start losing, and that's when the finger pointing starts. And it seems like the first person to point fingers, realistically, would be Kyrie Irving. Do you think Kyrie can kind of change his ways and be more of a team player? Do you think he's kind of stuck in that mental state where he's like, I'm above everyone and I'm above criticism, so I'm going to point the finger. I'm going to say what I think, whatever's on my mind. And do you think he'll be detrimental to this team in the end?
I think that's just the way Kyrie thinks. Obviously, he's more of a self-centered person. He's kind of selfish in a way, but I don't know, because I don't think he's really going to mess up the chemistry. Obviously, Harden and KD, they're 2 of the best scorers that we've ever seen in the NBA, and they're going to figure out how to gel together. Also, they played with each other. It was a long time ago, but they have the previous experience. But I don't think Kyrie's going to necessarily mess up the chemistry of the team. But he does bring a little toxicity to the locker room, though. Obviously, what
a little,
yeah. But I mean, I don't know what I think if this team's, if the offense works out, I don't think it's going to matter really. Obviously what the other things are going on, if they're losing or not. I think Kyrie, he will get upset if they're starting to lose games, but I just don't see that being the case. I think this offense is way too potent for other defenses, to try and stop. I think it's going to be, a well-oiled machine. I think that, they're really going to get it going once they get Kyrie back. I had my questions, obviously, before we saw Harden and KD, but the way that I saw them gel together, I think, they might have some differences in the locker room, or when, they're calling up the play for who's getting the last shot. But I think when it comes down to it, for the majority of the game, they'll be better on offense than probably any other team in the league, and it's going to be tough to stop. So I think obviously there's going to be some differences in the locker room with, those type of personalities. But I think at the end of the day, if they're winning games, which I think they will be, I think the Nets will be fine moving forward.
Yeah, on Saturday's show, we all kind of talked about. We thought the start to the Harden era in Brooklyn would be slow. We all thought that it would take a while for them to click. Obviously, we haven't seen Kyrie Irving factor into this, but so far they look good. I mean, they're scoring the ball, they're facilitating, especially James Harden's done a great job making plays and stuff for this Nets team. Jace, I wanted to ask you, are you surprised at how quickly this Nets team is clicking, or do you think it's just kind of a honeymoon phase sort of thing, and when Kyrie comes back, it's going to be the whole process is basically going to restart?
No, I mean, Kyrie is going to be an interesting variable, but I really think a big thing with this trade that not a lot of people are talking about is the loss of Jared Allen. And DeAndre Jordan needs to really step up if this team needs to succeed. I mean, they need someone to dominate the boards. Kevin Durant has not been rebounding well early in the season. He needs to be averaging at least 10 boards a game. And, and a big loss with Jared Allen. I mean, defensively as well, with Jared Allen's block shots, they're just losing that size. I mean, honestly, I would like to see Durant take control and more like a Giannis or like a LeBron, where he isn't just a shooting. He doesn't play all from the perimeter. If he can get down and guard some of those guys in the post, I think he will be a big asset and mesh well with Harden and Kyrie in the backcourt.
Yeah, you bring up DeAndre Jordan needing to step up. If he could flash this game back to 5 years ago, I mean, I'm looking right now at his stats. He averaged, scoring doesn't matter, but he averaged 11 points a game, but he got 15 rebounds a game, and that's 10 defensive, and he grabbed almost 5 offensive rebounds a game, which is ridiculous. And then he averaged 2 blocks a game, and he also obviously shot 71% from the field. So having someone like that in your lineup, I kind of think getting rid of Jared Allen was a mistake, although they might not have had much of a choice in that department. But Jared Allen definitely is a huge loss for this Nets team. With that being said, we're going to get into our second game break momentarily, but we're going to get another message from Clovercrest Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our main event.
All right. So many great podcasts here on Clovercrest. I'll say that straight up. So getting into kind of like a little injury report here. We mentioned earlier in the show, CJ McCollum is going to miss up to a month, which is horrible news for that Trailblazers team. Sean, I heard what you had to say. Isaiah, how big of an impact for Portland is this missing obviously one of the best scorers so far in the league?
I think it's a huge impact. I mean, like you said, he's one of the best scorers in the league. Him and Lillard, those two are a dynamic duo, and to not have them two together puts a lot more on Lillard at this point, But it's early in the year still. You hope that maybe they could weather the storm until he comes back, but it's going to be a huge blow. I mean, I don't get a chance to watch much Portland games because they play at 10:30, but from what I know, those two not being together, from what I see, those two are really the team. So for one of them to be missing, it's going to, like I said, it's going to hurt the team offensively. And I don't know, defensively, like I said, I don't watch much Portland basketball.
No, you're 100% right. I think that's a huge loss for them. Another team losing a starter is the Indiana Pacers with Miles Turner. I don't think has as big of an impact on that team, but with Karis LeVert being injured, them dumping out Oladipo. Sean, do you think this is as big of a blow to the Pacers as I do, especially with them having players out? Like obviously Oladipo is not playing for them anymore, and Karis LeVert them finding a problem with him during his physical.
Yeah, I think it's a big loss. I don't think it's like a tremendous loss that's really gonna hurt them, but it is a big loss. Miles Turner is obviously a big man. He leads the league in blocks right now with I think it's close to 4 a game, which is obviously a great number. But he does so much more. He rebounds. He excuse me. He stretches the floor. He could shoot the 3-pointer. So I think he does a lot for the Indiana team that might not get noticed, but he does a lot of little things for this team, but luckily the Pacers still have Domantas Sabonis. He's not a center, but he's still a big man, a power forward. So he could still hold down the post and get scoring done in there and get some rebounds and stop the team's opposing best center. But I do think it will hurt them for a little bit. You just get so much versatility with Miles Turner. He's obviously a big man, but he does so much more. Does a lot of the dirty work. So I think it hurts the Pacers, but I don't think it will really keep them out of that top 4 seed in the East. I think they'll still be able to continue to win games. Obviously with guys like Brogdon and Sabonis.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Jace, so we had mentioned earlier, Kyrie and Jason Tatum are out against the Sixers tomorrow night. How different of a team is the Celtics without Jason Tatum, and who do they really have to lean on for scoring without, especially with these two out? Obviously, Jaylen Brown is a big factor, but he can't score 45 points a game. So.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is where Boston is going to struggle. Those are 2 key guys. I mean, they don't have Hayward anymore. They really need Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart to really step up. And, I mean, they really struggle inside. So I think Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are going to have a day with these 2 out. I mean, they can't hold up to scoring. And, I mean, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are going to get their points. And they don't have those 2 to get their points. So it's going to be a rough day for the Sixers without those 2.
I think Joel Embiid is going to have a field day. Posting up down low, banging down with those short Celtics centers and Tice and Thompson. Obviously, Thompson's a better defender than Tice, but he doesn't start. So I think Embiid is gonna have a. I'm gonna predict he gets another 40-point game, but that's just me being biased. What do I know?
I would be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's really not. If you watch the way they struggled against Mitchell Robinson the other day and Randall, they look terrible against them too. And Peyton Pritchard had a pretty bad game also. That whole team needs to step it up this game. They need to figure it out. They really can't afford to lose games like this, even with people out for COVID reasons.
Yeah, surely it would be a huge win for Boston, and if the Celtics or the Sixers were to lose this game, it'd be embarrassing. But I think it's an equally big game for both teams. Obviously, the Sixers shouldn't lose to a depleted Celtics team, but if the Celtics can somehow claw into that one and win, that'd be pretty impressive. We talked about Kyrie Irving, the possibility of him coming back for tomorrow's game against Cleveland. We got into all that stuff, so without further ado, we'll get into our final topic here. I hope you boys did your research. I asked y'all to compile a top 5 list. Me and Jace were talking about ours before we got on air here. I think the way we're going to do this, we're each going to go around. We'll start 5. We'll each say our 5. Then we'll go to 4. We'll each say our 4, and so on. Jace, why don't you start here? I want to hear your number 5. Who you got and why?
Number 5, I got to go Steph Curry. He's the best guard in the game right now. But he's number 5. I mean, they're struggling. The Golden State Warriors are, but not Steph Curry. I mean, it was a struggle here between him and Lillard for me, but I gave the nod to Steph Curry. Who was your number 5, Sean?
My number 5 is going to be Giannis. Steph actually just missed my top 5. I really wanted to put him in, but he was at my number 6. But I have the back-to-back MVP. Giannis is number 5. Obviously, he's just a force down low. He's so good at driving to the rack. Obviously, he's a rebounder. He's getting better at passing every single year, and then defensively, he's just dominant. The only reason I have him at number 5 is because I think he needs to prove it more in the playoffs. Obviously, he needs to, make the conference championship, and then on top of that, make it to the finals and maybe even win a ring. That's the only thing holding him back. Excuse me. But that's the only thing holding him back right now, I think, is the playoff success. So once he gets that done, he'll start to move up and up the list. But as of right now, I have the Greek Freak at number 5. So Isaiah, who do you have at number 5?
This is weird. I actually got Zion at number 5 right now.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh,
Kid's a freak. I think he's a star on the rise, and I think he's not getting the attention that he needs more attention. I don't think he's getting the attention he deserves. I think he needs more. I think he needs to be playing more primetime games because the boy's balling down there, bro.
he has a primetime game tonight.
Well, needs more.
He does. I agree. The Pelicans definitely need some more spotlight down there with the young talent they have.
against my Jazz. They're
Right. My number 5, Jace did mention that it was between these two for his top 5, but I'm going to put Damian Lillard ahead of Steph Curry, only because of the workload. I mean, I know Curry has a big workload, but I think Lillard has even less help in Portland. And for him to go out there every night and, try his best and score 28 a game, I think that's really impressive for me. And he's an excellent playmaker. He's one of the best deep shot shooters in the league. So that's why I have Damian Lillard at my number 5. I think he's just a workhorse and he works for it. Jace, we'll go in the same order. Jace, why don't you get us started with your number 4?
All right, for my number 4, I got someone who I think can, when it gets down the road in the season, will be a real competitor at the MVP slot and for the MVP. And I think that's Nikola Jokic. Dude's 4th in steals. He's got a 58% field goal percentage, shooting 38.6 from 3. And then obviously leading the league in assists with 10 per game. I mean, a center to do this is insane. He just really needs Murray to step up so this team can compete for the finals, because I really like this Nuggets team, and the Joker is a beast. Who you got at number 4, Sean?
I'm going to go with the Claw, Kawhi Leonard at number 4. Obviously, I think he's the best on-ball defender in the league. Obviously, he's dominant at that. His scoring's a little bit down this year, but also Paul George is having a career year shooting it and scoring, obviously. So I'm not too worried about that. I think it will go up as the season goes on. But he obviously does it all for the team. He guards their best player. He's putting up 25 a night, and then he'll also dish out 6 assists and give you some boards. So I think Kawhi he's a tremendous player, does so much for the team. I think the Clippers have a better shot this year to make a push in the Western Conference. I think they've had a really good start to the year. But obviously, and Kawhi, just look at his whole resume as a career. 2 Finals MVPs with 2 different teams. So I think Kawhi is definitely still in that top 5, and I'd have to put the Claw at number 4. Who are you going with here, Isaiah?
My list is just going to be a really, really shiny list of nice toys. Number 4, actually, I got Giannis. Actually, he is the the reigning MVP. He is number 4, but I still think he needs to improve his jump shot. I think once he improves that, he'll move up further on my list. But right now, as it stands, he's number 4 for me.
Yeah, I was talking to Jace beforehand. I'll do a little spoiler here. Giannis isn't on my list. I think that might be a little crazy to say, but I think he needs to be doing more, especially with his jump shot. He's been shooting horrible free throw percentage wise. He obviously can't really shoot anything outside of the paint area, and he's scoring 27. He's grabbing 10 boards. I think he needs to grab more boards, and I think he needs to score more points. Just solely based on the fact that I think he needs to do more. He's not on my list. But my number 4 is, I actually made just a flip-flop right now. I swapped these two positions. I have Joel Embiid at my number 4. Obviously,
Ooh.
yeah, he plays for my team right now. He's been playing great. 25 points, 11 rebounds. He's doing a block and a half, a steal and a half per game, shooting well from the field, 54% from the field, same as Jokic. I think if he continues this run he's been on, he's playing great defense too. He can lead the Sixers to some places they want to go. So, Jace, why don't you hit us with your number 3?
Can't pick people off your team.
my number 3 is also. I mean, I part of me wanted to put Donovan Mitchell somewhere on my list, but I had to look past it and I had to tough it out. But I got Giannis here at number 3. I mean, dude's a beast. He's still getting it done. I mean, he's not putting up like crazy numbers, but still his field goals is up. I mean, his 3-point field goals is also up from his average. So he's shooting 30%, which is a career best. I mean, he's a career best in field goals. So he's doing really good right now this early in the season. So I got Giannis at number 3. What about you, Sean?
Number 3, I'm going to go with AD, Anthony Davis. I think he's such a versatile big man. He really does it all. He has the shot, and no one can guard his shot. He can get it off against anyone, and he also does rebounding. But he could also guard on the defensive side of the ball, probably 1 through 5. Honestly, he can guard point guards up through centers. He's got the footwork and the versatility to do it. Also, he's a great shot blocker. And I think Anthony Davis is just so unique. I think we really haven't seen any players like him. Really anywhere in NBA's history. I think a player, of that size and that length that can get shots off of anyone and can make them too. He's a great shot maker. So I think Anthony Davis is just so unique. I think he's a great player. Obviously, he gets his first championship last year, and I think that's only the start for Anthony Davis. I really think he's going to get going in the next couple of years and solidify himself as probably the face of the NBA once Kevin Durant and LeBron move on. But I like AD a lot, and I have him at my number 3 right now. So, Zay, who do you got for number Trey?
Number 3 for me has got to be Kevin Durant. Comeback player of the year in my eyes right now. He's scoring at an incredible rate. He's keeping his team in games and winning games because basically anytime he sits on the bench, they're losing. So for me, he's number 3. I can't put him higher right now because the 2 people I have ahead of him, I still think are better than him currently. So for me, it's Kevin Durant.
Sweet. I got at my number 3, I have Mr. Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks. He's averaging 27 points a game, nearly 10 rebounds, 9.5 assists. He's shooting not so great, 44% from the field, but he's improving. He still has work to be done on the defensive end, but I think his importance to his team, for me, is what did it. I think the Dallas Mavericks are bottom of the league if they don't have Luka Doncic. I think he makes that big of a difference. So that's why I got him at my number 3 spot. Jace, who do you got? Top 2 time. Who do you got at number 2?
Number 2, I mean, Zay's just picking my guys off one by one before I get to him. I got Kevin Durant here. He wasn't really dethroned from his championship run with Golden State because he got injured, but he's shooting better right now than he did. He's averaging better now than he did with Golden State. I think he really likes it in Brooklyn. He's playing well. Honestly, I struggled to put Harden on this list, but I said one person per team, and he is the man in Brooklyn. Sean, who's your number 2?
It's actually Kevin Durant. We're going to talk about him 3 times in a row here, but I'll be quick with it. I think KD. I think he's really closing in on LeBron. Obviously, I didn't think he was going to have as good of a year coming off the Achilles injury as he had, but he's been tremendous so far. Dropping 31, 7, and 6. And in terms of assists, it's almost a career high, but he's also shooting 54 from the field and almost 50% from the 3. So he does it super efficiently. He's getting players involved. And on top of that, he's doing what he does best in scoring. So I really think that he is closing that gap on LeBron. for that number one spot. I kind of gave it my pick there. I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, I think KD is getting really close. I think his couple of years in Golden State, he was close, just because of the dominance he was having. But I really think in the next couple of years, once LeBron, we're starting to see the scoring dip off a little bit for LeBron. So I think KD is really going to take over in the next couple of years, as long as he has dominance in Brooklyn, which I think he will. But yeah, I got the Slim Reaper at my number 2. Who do you got there for number 2?
Well, my list is about to get ruined. Anyway, I don't have that rule Jace has. At number 2, I got Anthony Davis, because when LeBron's not on the court, Anthony Davis finds a way to hold the team down. And for the past 15 whatever years LeBron's been in the league, no one has ever been really able to do that other than Dwayne Wade and Bosh. So for me, it has to be Anthony Davis at number 2, his Robin to Batman.
Yeah, my number 2, I got Jace's number 4, Nikola Jokic, and that's who I swapped with Joel Embiid. I had Joel Embiid at 2, but I thought that was a little too high. Jokic is literally averaging a triple-double. The guy is a monster. I mean, don't even get me started on his fantasy basketball numbers. But he's shooting 57%, 58%, like Jace said. Nearly 2 steals per game. He's a little bit slow on the defensive end, but he gets out there with steals. He's a great facilitator. He's a great scorer. He's just an out of this world center. I've never seen anything like him in my day. That's why I have him at my number 2. It's time for the official number 1. Jace, who is your number 1?
I got LeBron. I mean, the king is the reigning champ. You got to dethrone the king, and no one has thus far. They're still atop the West. I mean, I think Durant can bring the next challenger outside the East, but I don't know. He's going to be meeting the king in the finals, if you ask me. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, it's King James. He's number 1. I think, KD is closing in. Obviously, his own teammate AD is closing in, but he's still the king. He still sits on the throne. He's still number 1 player in the league. Obviously, like I said, scoring's a little down this year, but he does so much more. Probably one of the best passers we've ever seen in our lifetime. Obviously, just brings that championship mentality, and in the playoffs, he really turns it on, especially defensively. So we saw in the postseason last year, LeBron still got that switch to turn on in the playoffs. So until I see some regression in LeBron, I can't put him anywhere but number 1. So yeah, the king is sitting on the throne still. How about you, Isaiah? Who's your number 1 pick?
Wasting our time. LeBron James. He's still king. Not only is he, it's not because of, he scores a lot or he rebounds a lot. It's the fact that LeBron, in all this time playing, he has learned how to evolve his game and continue to stay relevant in the game. And that, to me, is why he is number 1. It's not because he's the highest scorer or the highest rebounder. It's because he continues to find ways to make himself a better player and make the players around him better, even in his late years.
That's a great point.
Boy, oh boy, am I nervous for this.
If you didn't pick LeBron, just sign out now.
Oh, no.
It's not LeBron. You know what?
Ben Simmons?
Ben Simmons, yeah.
My number 1 is Kyrie. No, I'm joking. Number 1 is actually Kyrie Irving's teammate, Kevin Durant. I know that might sound crazy, but
I don't hate that.
I think Kevin Durant, coming off as serious of an injury as he did, to be still top of the game, second in the league in scoring. And, Bradley Beal's top of the league in scoring, but he doesn't count. He's the only one there. Kevin Durant has some playmakers and shooters on his team, and he's still averaging 30 points a game coming off that serious injury. So you know what? Give it to me. Kevin Durant's my number 1, and until LeBron James starts scoring that rock a little more, I know his impact is significant, but give me Kevin Durant, man.
We'll see what happens. We'll keep that workload on that Achilles. We'll see how that lasts. Keeps that workload up.
Wait, did LeBron make your top 5, Lucas?
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
Oh, no.
Disrespectful. I can't even believe we're on a podcast with you.
That's the king, man.
I was waiting for someone to notice that. Hey, he's number 6, though, so.
Number 6. Number 6. Oh, Miami.
Jeez.
Are you crazy?
You think Lillard is better than that? You're wild.
Number 6 in Miami, bro. Are you crazy?
You put Joel in front of LeBron.
I mean, you could argue that Durant's ahead of LeBron because technically,
yeah.
No, you can't argue that.
technically, LeBron didn't dethrone Durant.
I'm gonna be honest.
I get that conversation.
Let's be honest.
But-
Durant is just a product of the time. It's just how it goes. Just like Jordan had to overcome the Pistons. It's just a product of the time. Because if he had to face him on the Heat, I don't know if Durant would have got away with that Golden State or not. I don't know if he would have got away with that ring.
You know,
That was a
I looked a little too much into the statistical realm of it. LeBron's right there, man. I don't see when Jay said that I put Lillard ahead of LeBron. That kind of had me thinking like, oh boy, what did I do? But you know, I'm not gonna back down now. I stand where I stand.
Never went down. I like it.
We'll never
I'm
watch
sure,
it.
I'm sure by season's end that'll change though, because LeBron's LeBron.
He'll never watch the show.
I hope not. Boy, oh boy. So that was a fun way to end the show, guys. I really enjoyed that. But that'll bring us to an end. We will be back on Saturday at 1:00 as always. Tuesdays at 5 is our regular time. So without further ado, for Big Jace, King Zay, Sean Scanlon, and myself, Lucas Bolduck, this has been the Posting Up Podcast. Thanks you for watching.
Clovercrest Media Group presents a CMG podcast. Keys to the City.
Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know.
Crossed up by Kobe, little floater to Shaq, and then Shaq goes like this, and the rest is history. Pay attention. Don't tell me what to do, Devil Woman. But speaking of those Lakers, hold on, stun. But I didn't make my. I said Denver's gonna win. Yeah, you did. You said that.
There's no other show like that. Clovercrest is doing great things right now.
Streaming everywhere.